All right, guys, we're going to talk about the draft. We got my boy William Yanish, and we got the other expert, my boy Chris Ransom, man. We're about to talk some draft content, man. So, how do you guys feel about those sleepers, those gyms, bro? We're going to break down some guys that y'all need to check out. So,
The
let's
one
start.
guy that absolutely got my attention was USC's receiver, Jalen Lane. I
Ooh,
mean,
Jacoby Lane. Okay.
Jacoby Lane. There you go. That one a little bit of a brain part there,
6'4",
but
195-pound guy. Not
the
quite your
dude is
fastest
like
guy, but
Gumby
good
out there,
contested
man.
catcher.
He's got this catch radius that's just huge, and I mean, all he does is make like contested catches. I mean, I wish he could break away a little bit more, but that would put him a little bit higher in the draft. Um, like I said though, and being the hometown guy for the Niners, this is what we need. What Shanahan absolutely needs to accomplish is what his father did with the Denver Broncos 97-98. I mean, they
Yeah,
had Rob Smith, Ed McCaffrey, I mean, Shannon Sharp, Terrell Davis. And I mean, this it is achievable with who we have, I mean,
okay, so that's your sleeper. So it's the one that's behind Makai Lemon. I've liked this guy's tape.
Yeah, I might have to put him early in round five because I think I've got like 139 players with Pro Bowl upside, and I'm guessing anywhere from 69 to 70 of those players are going to hit their ceiling, and the other guys, some will become undrafted, some will become guys who are never was, some will be warm bodies in training camp, some will be backups. Who knows? The draft really is a numbers game. If you only draft for ceiling, it's a numbers game.
I think he could be a third round pick depending on how he tests at the combine. Like he's got the
That's
lengthy arms.
yeah, good
But
floor, better floor than a lot of the receivers with higher ceilings. But at the same token, there's some stuff that needs to be cleaned up.
okay, like
indeed.
I like his contested winning catches. That's something that stands out about him. Like he can
Yeah,
win the contesting catches. He's a red zone threat. I was surprised he declared early because he could have at least built on for next year and could have been a first round talent for sure. But Makai Lemon's gonna probably be the high pick, man. That's the must take in the draft.
Yeah. Lemon, I mean, he definitely he finishes plays, he has a little bit of pop when it comes to running, he just doesn't fall down. And that's one thing that I really, look for in a player when it comes to being a wide receiver or running back, finishing that play, just hitting it. And Malachi Lemon is obviously, I mean, that's what he does. And I like Lemon a lot better than some of the receivers in this draft that they have so high. They've got to have a little bit of attitude, and that's how John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have absolutely been. I mean,
But your ideal receiver that we probably will get is probably somebody like KC Concepcion. I think he would probably be your obvious choice, but he would probably be in the 20s. But if he does well in the combine, bro, that's where Niners might have to move up for that kid.
well, this is the problem. After Elijah Surratt at 20, I'm looking at the receivers on my simulator. Denzel Boston, 37. Chris Brazel, the second, 53. Casey Conception, 54. I've got Skylar Bell of Connecticut at
Oh, I like
61.
that guy, dude. That dude runs routes. That guy breaks tackles. Like, dude, I was watching the tape the
He is
other day.
beast at the Shrine Bowl, and his tape is really good, despite the fact that he's a smaller receiver. Skylar Bell, yes, I have him at 61. We've got Bell at 70. TCU junior Eric McAllister at 88. Malachi
Breaks
Fields
tackles
at
too.
99. And then I've got Cameron and Ted Hurst. So it's a really deep wide receiver class. There's a lot of options in the top 110. So while you're not going to get that number 4 guy, there's a handful of guys that you can vet through the audition process. And if you fall in love with one of them, you can pick one of them in the first round with your
So
pick.
Yeah, those are good options right there. But if we were gonna go more into the sleeper, where would you guys have Bryce Lance at? Like, it seems like he's a good blocking receiver, right? He's got some nice upside, right?
This is what I'm debating. Like after Alec Texa at 139, are there any FCS players in this draft that can be Pro Bowlers? If so, we put them at 138, 139 on the simulator. If not, we put Garrett Nussmeyer at 138 because the Titans have 2 5th-round picks. They got the Jets' 5th-round pick in the Draymond Jones trade. So, and I know if this is an open discussion thing, William's going to say we're putting Nussmeyer at 138. This is an open and shut case. He's a Senior Bowl MVP, preseason #1 pick. We should not be having this conversation. I know that's your default mantra. Your stance on that take.
I would love to have him as a backup to Brock Purdy. I'll tell you that for sure. Nussmeyer, he was my number one before this year, before the season, and before he ended up getting benched. But I think that just had a lot to do with the pressure that was going on at LSU. I mean, obviously the coach caught it, but go ahead.
I mean, he's got a good talent at quarterback. He's undersized, but he knows how to deliver the ball when it's necessary. But wouldn't it be kind of obvious if he plays for the same team what his dad's coaching at too? Because I think Saints are they like what they see from Tyler Shough, but I think they still want to at least get something consistency,
The absolute funny part of that is the last couple of receivers, or not receivers, but the last couple of quarterbacks that I've had as my QB2 have been drafted by the Saints. That was Jake Haener.
It's possible,
that was
bro.
Spencer Rattler, and then Beck last year kind of screwed that up. Well, I had Milrow at number 1 last year, but
all right, I've got a
there.
follow-up question for both of you because I've got 3 receivers. I'm debating where to rank them after most of the guys I mentioned. There's a few more. Omar Cooper was after Hurst, and then I have Harrison Wallace at 124, Kevin Coleman at 127, and Zechariah Branch at 131. So after those guys, I'm looking at 3 receivers. I'm looking at Bryce Lance, I'm looking at Williams' guy, Jacoby Lane, and I'm looking at Joey's guy, Jeremy Bernard. Of those guys, 1 being the best, 3 being the worst, who would you rank the highest between Bryce Lance, Jeremy Bernard, and Jacoby Lane out of USC? I'm genuinely curious.
I guess when it comes to the consistent catches and all that stuff, Jacoby Lane is really good at that. But when it comes to like separation, that might be the odd part. But is he a willing blocker at some point? Because if you want to be the go-to receiver, see, like Bernard from Alabama, I've heard a lot of good tape about this kid, but the separation is the issue with him coming out of that. And he may be a 4 or 5 guy from the looks of it. His catches, he can catch, but at times he gets covered up pretty well. But Bryce Lance from the competition, okay, when you look at the competition he plays at, right, it's kind of hard to judge him, right? But he can block too, bro. Like that dude does everything. Like he'll make nice contested plays.
You're gonna have to rely solely on the tape because he wasn't in the Shrine Bowl or the Senior Bowl. So you're gonna have to rely solely on the tape.
The tape is good, but you want to see what he could do at the next level. So I guess if you want to go from the lowest level, I might have to go with Bernard on the lower grade. Because he don't separate. He don't seem
I agree with that. I felt like Ryan Williams was the number 1 at Alabama for most of this year, and a lot of Bernard's opportunities came due to Williams getting double teams, triple teams at times.
I mean, there's a lot to like about Bernard, but he doesn't seem to he doesn't separate. He doesn't do all the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. Just because you play at Alabama don't mean nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. This is weird to say, but for the first time in a long time, I don't have any Alabama players in my top 32 this year. I've got, I think Caden Proctor in the mid-second round due to his character concerns is my top Bama player. I've got Ty Simpson in the late 3rd, behind Parker Brailsford, behind Jaden Roberts. So,
what about that Lawson linebacker?
I do like Lawson. I've got him in the early 120s in the 4th round. I think because he started out as a 34 middle linebacker, but he moved to Sam linebacker this year. So the versatility is a bonus, but how much of a bonus is it going to be to teams? And if a team running a 43 gets him, are they going to use him correctly or are they going to misutilize him? That's the thing.
If they
Yeah.
run a 3-4
You
defense,
know.
he might be played that way.
And the thing is, so much of the success that San Francisco has had is because of the things that they don't see, like, Jawan Jennings and what he does. I mean, how he finishes blocks, how he goes out there. And I mean, I don't even remember who it was. It was an Arizona Cardinals player. He pushed him all the way through the end zone and into the stands.
Oh, was that
You know?
Lions?
Yeah, there you go. And it was like, that is the kind of guy that is a must. And seeing that kind of attitude, we lost, Dre Greenlaw. I mean, he was the teeth. Maybe not the leader of the defense like Fred Warner, but he was the teeth of the
He was a
defense.
tone setter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he may have not been as big as Fred Warner, but when it came to him making his physical presence, bro, that's what I mean. With D Winters, he's got speed, he's got all the potential, bro. But there's times you're like figuring out like what's going on with this guy, bro. It's like you like his talent, but he kind of gets out of place. Like since Warner was injured, bro, he was out of place.
Yeah, and it's just having versatile players, like that, and the attitude is what makes or what made us successful, what got us to the Super Bowl. I mean, outside of a few missed holding calls, we won that game versus Kansas City. It wasn't even that close, and that's what we need to get back to. I love D Winners, and I had a pretty good grade on him, a third or fourth, I believe, round grade, and he was drafted in the seventh. He has done nothing but step up and be what this team needed. But he's still a seventh round pick, that has those things that need cleaned up. But
Well, here's the thing with a guy like Deontay Lawson. If he goes to a 43 team, he can start out as at number 4 linebacker, but he can push the rest of the linebacker room. Especially if he goes to a team like a Detroit or a San Francisco, he can push the rest of the guys, the Nick Martins, the D Winners. He can push those guys to play better, and he might even beat one of them out for playing time.
Yeah. There's the linebacker class seems pretty solid. Like when you look at some guys who can potentially be good fits, like I like the kid from Oklahoma, Kendall Daniels, just has that 6'5" linebacker body, just covered. He looks like he can be a bigger Fred Warner, but the more I watch this kid from Texas Tech, man, Jacob Rodriguez
I've got him in my top 10. He's 6th on my draft simulator.
Dude,
I know he doesn't have the ideal athletic traits of a round 1 player, but he was almost a Heisman finalist on defense, and his tape is just exceptionally good despite the athletic limitations that some think he has.
But he makes up for that. And he he has a knack for punching for the ball, that's
exactly.
I just don't know where he's going to go at because they have him listed as like a mid-round, but he might be moving up close to a first round, right?
I have him I think I only have 5 players ahead of him. On my current big board, I've got Mendoza at 1, Ruben Bain at 2, David Bailey at 3, Caleb Downs at 4, and Jeremiah Love at 5. That's it. Those are the only players I have rated ahead of Jacob Rodriguez. If he's there for New England at 31, I'm freaking picking him and pairing him with Landry. Well, I'm not even hesitating. I'm pulling the trigger immediately.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Rodriguez. People don't know where to place him because it's a middle linebacker. Behind tight ends and safeties.
He's not an ideal sack artist, William, but he's got experience in a 34 scheme. But his numbers. He can get quarterback hurries. He's great in coverage. He's great against the run. But the 7.5 sacks and the athletic limitations that some think he has, that's why he's got a day 2, day 3 grade in some other draft boards. And I think he's a top 10 talent. I think
that I absolutely look for with a linebacker is their instincts. You know, that was what was that kid's name that the Eagles drafted? I just had it.
Trotter, right?
No. The Eagles just drafted him a few. N'Kobe Dean. You know, I mean, his athletic abilities. You know, I watched him. You know, made up for so much that wasn't there because he was supposed to be drafted real high. But you know, I watched him so many times on tape. You know, take that first step in the wrong direction, and then you know his athletic traits made up for it. It was like, dude, I want to see those instincts. I want to see them hit the right one at the right time. It's like, you know, I mean, I remember I was first getting into really watching players on tape when Luke Kuechly was drafted by the Carolina Panthers, and just watching him on tape, man. I mean, his instincts. Dude knew what the play was
It happened.
before the offense knew what the play was half the time. You know, I mean,
That guy was quick as a speeding bullet, but like,
yeah,
you know, but like when it comes to that type of talent, bro, you don't see much of that type of talent. But where Rodriguez, he has a knack just to punch the ball, or he's in good position. That's what stands out. And he would have been Heisman also for a linebacker, but there's a couple of good linebackers that I like. And
Yeah.
I think there's one linebacker that I don't even know why people are even talking about him as much, but I feel like he might be under the radar, that might be on somebody's board that nobody is even thinking about. Like, okay, so this kid, man, I don't know why he's even under the draft board now, bro. Because I've seen this tape from LSU, bro. What's his name? Perkins, bro. That dude has the speed, physicality, but maybe undersized, right? But he's a fast.
Undersized, not exactly the most consistent. This draft is just stacked. I mean, somebody used the word shallow to describe the 2026 draft. I could not disagree further from that opinion. I think last year I had 90 to 95 players with Pro Bowl upside. This year I've got 139, but I think the floors are much lower, much all over the place. It's much more volatile in terms of, is this player ready now? Yeah, there's a lot of high ceiling players, but is this player ready now? There might only be 39 players with good floors and good ceilings, but there's 100 with high ceilings that are just raw, about as raw as Gabriel was last year. That's the problem, William.
yeah, and that's a casual view of this draft, is seeing these, not having so many quarterbacks, not having
It's
you
a
know so
weak
many
ass
top end.
class.
You know, it makes it look weak, but it's not weak for the other positions like defensive line. You know,
Defensive
linebacker.
line's strong, yeah.
You know, we talked about the cornerbacks and safeties the other day. I
It's
mean,
not weak. I mean, Diego Pavia is my QB2. I've got Chambliss at 3, Beck at 4. I actually think if Joey Aguilar ends up
getting the hype.
Yeah, I would actually put I have Aguilar slightly higher than Simpson on my board, but I don't even know if Aguilar is going to end up declaring or going back. I like Altmaier, I like Haynes King, I like Horvath, and then I would have Nussmeier, but few of these guys are going to be undrafted simply because of the offenses they play in. Like King and Horvat, they both play in wishbone offenses, so both of them could be UDFAs. It's possible.
yeah, and that's the thing with I would love to have a Navy guy on this team, you know, with Horvath. But it's like, how much did he actually throw the ball? You know, there's not a whole lot of things on him. You
Yeah,
know, with
Navy's
wishbone
fullback
offense.
is really good. He pancaked a Cincinnati defensive tackle. I don't think it was Corleone. I think he opted out of his bowl game. But just imagine if that was Corleone that the fullback pancaked. Boom.
That would have messed up his draft. But I like the guy from Cincinnati, that Corleone guy, bro. Like,
I do. I have him in my top 100 as well. But there's so many other defensive tackles that dominated the Senior Bowl, whether it's Lee Hunter or Caleb Banks. I think it's a really deep defensive tackle group as well. I mean,
it's a pretty good one. Lee Hunter is somebody who's moving up draft board, bro, from Texas Tech. You got my guy from Oklahoma, Holton, whatever. Grace Holton.
Yeah.
He's a really good.
I'm looking at the D tackle group. Peter Woods and Miller were my only players in round 1, but then I didn't have another guy until round 3. I had Keenan at 71, McDonald at 72, Graves at 75, Holton at 87, Landon Robinson of Navy, who had a great Shrine Week at 92,
He
and then I
was
had
good.
Lee Hunter at 95, Corleone at 100, Caleb Banks at 106, Rayshawn Benny at 121, and then I've got Xavier Harris at 126. I'm still working on this draft simulator, but it's a pretty deep defensive tackle group. If I were ranking the 5 deepest positions, I would say right. I think we have 10 tackles in the first 2 rounds. So I'd say tackle is deep. It's deeper at tackle and top heavy at tackle versus a year ago, but there's not a bona fide. There's not like that bona fide blue chip. There's not as many blue chip guys. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Last year there were more blue chip guys. Wide receiver, I say it's a very deep receiver group. Deeper than last year. I think there's more guys with the ceiling to be number ones, but there's also unknowns, whether it's top end speed variables, route tree. There's a lot more unknowns with this receiver class. I don't know. The third deepest position, I'm kind of conflicted on this, but I would say defensive end. I think we have there's 3 defensive ends that we have in round 4 that had 10 sacks. That list includes Romeo Height, Texas A&M, Caden Clark, Ohio State, and Central Michigan's edge rusher had 10 sacks. Michael Heldman, very good week at the Shrine Bowl, but he struggled against good competition. He had 0 sacks against Pitt's tackles. He had 0 sacks against Power 5 teams, so that's something he's going to have to overcome. But big ceiling if he can overcome that.
Yeah.
Very big ceiling if he can overcome that at the next level.
There is a lot of big ceiling with the ends, but the other guy that you were talking about, like, there's a couple other guys with 10 plus sacks. I mean, Nadeem Tucker is somebody who's kind of like rising up the draft boards. Like, he is somebody that came off the radar. I was supposed to get the guy for an interview, and I guess the schedule just wasn't working in his favor. But what he did at the Senior Bowl was insane. Like, I don't know how a guy gets so many opportunities and then comes into the Senior Bowl and just looks like unblockable. Like, I remember David Walker was such an unblockable guy, and you had that guy from Marshall last year. That dude, what's his name? Green, right?
Yeah, I think middle linebackers kind of deep, to be honest. Hill, Reese, and Miller are Hill, Reese, and Allen are all in round 1 for me. But I have Murdoch in day 2. I have Botcher as my number 1 player in round 4, and then I have Josiah Trotter.
That kid
from
Oregon.
Yeah, Bryce Botcher, Oregon middle linebacker. He's 101. You could argue he's a day 2 guy in the 3rd round.
Trotter's got that downhill physicality from Missouri.
And he's the younger brother of Jeremiah Trotter Jr. as well as the son of the former Eagles linebacker. So the family roots definitely are a bonus for him. And I was debating between Lawson and Trotter for the Broncos in round 4. I think Trotter's a better fit personally.
And he brings a physical downhill style compared to what Lawson is. Lawson just has that physical traits, a little bit of.
So if I were ranking these positions, I'd say tackle, receiver, and edge are the 3 deepest, and then I would go safety at 4, and I'd probably go middle linebacker at 5. But man, it's tough. D tackle's deep too, so you could definitely D tackle should be in the top. Tackle, wide receiver, D tackle, and edge are definitely the 4 deepest, but. What's the 5th deepest? Is it safety? Is it middle linebacker? I think that's what I'm debating, whether it's safety or middle linebacker.
I think it's middle linebacker because safeties are like.
Yeah.
It's more of a top heavy safety draft because I think after Thieneman, Downs, and McNeil Warren, there's a significant drop off from 30 to 50 with Michael Taffy, and then there. 30 to 60 with Michael Taffy, and then from 60 to 74, you have AJ Halsey, 76, Ahmad Moses, and then
it drops
Alfred, Jalen Catalon's 93, Bud Clark's 105. That's great value on day 3. I like Bud Clark on day 3, but I would say middle linebackers probably. There's not as many guys, but the quality is very good. The quality of middle linebackers is very good.
Like there's Lander Barton from Utah who's got the big size, and then you got Jack Kelly from BYU. I mean,
I got Kelly as a Sam linebacker, but I do have him in day 2.
The
But
one
if
guy,
we're taking outside and inside linebackers and combining them, linebacker definitely wins out over safety.
Where would you have John Miller from Utah State? He looks like an intriguing one because
I haven't looked at John Miller. I got to take a look at him. I have Gabe Jacas in my top 100 as well. Sonny Styles in round 1.
well, we were talking about Botcher and Thieneman. Anybody who plays at Oregon, for Dan Lanning, or like you were mentioning, the players from Utah, that played for Kyle Whittingham, they are going to be a lot more NFL ready than a lot of these guys. Another middle linebacker, he ended up going back that had my interest peaked was Whit Weeks from LSU.
People who watch NFL tape and all 22 and prioritize NFL systems, NFL scheme fits, NFL tape over college, which I know Joey, our co-host at Draftutopia, is a big proponent of. They're going to say Oregon's scheme fit doesn't translate to the NFL, but that perception's changed since Dan Lanning's arrived. That's what you got to realize, William.
Changed, yeah. Like
Yeah.
you got quality starters under the system they run in the program. Like
That's why Caldwell's having success with the Chargers at nose tackle. You're starting to see some other players in Oregon's defense, not just Christian Gonzalez with the Patriots, but other quality players
Even
on
the
Oregon's
safety.
defense under Dan Lanning beginning to blossom. Lenore, I think he was there before Lanning got there, but you're starting to see those guys
they're
blossom.
starting to blossom into it. Yeah, even that one guy from the Falcons, Dorless.
I had a second on Dorless. I thought that was a great value pick, and I had a second on Trice in 2024. So, and yeah, they're starting to emerge as well.
Well, that's one reason too. I said that over a year ago about Kyle Whittingham being one of my top 3 college coaches, along with Lanning and DeBauer at the time, and the players that play for him. Obviously, he was there for so many years, and that's the reason that Michigan hired him. What was to corral what Harbaugh had there, because it didn't fly so well under the interim coach, or whatever his name was.
Yeah, Sharon Moore, he got sent home.
Yep.
Got sent to timeout for inappropriate behavior. We're not going to get into it here.
Yeah. And they're just trying to get back to something that is absolutely, it, what is he has it, Whittingham just brings together that team. And, with Cam Rising, a couple of years ago, they were kicking the out of USC 3 times in the season, or 3 times between the first and second season he was there.
Wasn't that the quarterback who was like a 6-year senior, right?
Oh yeah. And then he ended up tearing his knee apart like completely. But he was my number 1 quarterback for 2 years in a row because of the heart he had. I mean, he was just absolutely.
He was
what
good
he
for
was.
that program. Yeah, he was good for that program. But then when you look at the rest of their, there's talent at Utah. They got some guys that can play. But when you look at the rest of the guys, when it comes to like the offensive line, Iowa hands down just has the linemen, bro. They just know how to play. Like it doesn't matter how coached they are, because I don't think Ferentz is still coaching out in Iowa, but they still got the foundation. Like. You got Logan Jones, who's the center, right?
He's my number 1 center, by the way. Bo Stevens is also in day 2. So I've got 3 Iowa players in my top 64 on the offensive line, which is just unheard of. That's not normal.
But that's in a proven program, because when you got
it is 9 combine invites this year. 9 combine invites from Iowa.
And Dunker is a good one also. He's got the he can play the guard or the tackle, whatever they want to play.
Yeah, I've got Logan Jones graded the highest of those 3, but I've got Dunker at 34 and I've got Bo Jennings at 63. So that should tell you about their offensive line. It's a really good unit.
So
and for sure, I mean, that's another team. When I mentioned looking at Utah and looking at Oregon,
Colby Connor was one of my sleepers last year too. I think I had a 5th round grade on him. He went undrafted, and the Niners ended up turning him into a starter.
Well, he was actually a 7th round pick, but still,
7th round pick.
usually any Iowa player that gets coached at that level, they usually have the NFL caliber because they played under the system, so they would be more successful. Like when you're coach under those people in Iowa, you're going to be well coached to play at the next
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
But
And that's just like a few years ago with Lucas Van Ness and Jack Campbell on that
a
defense,
lot of those guys, yeah, they just know how to develop in the football factory.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to trenches, Iowa does well. When it then you got like Oklahoma that does the same thing. The one player at Oklahoma at the offensive line spot, I've seen him kind of like I forget how you pronounce his name. He's another good one, but he might just be a low grade because they haven't put him as highly. But
Wow.
some of it had like he was the only best offensive lineman outside of that one center we got, Sexton, whatever. He's a good one.
I've got 3 in my top 50. Logan Jones is my number 1 now. I think Pat Coogan's moved up to 2, and Slaughter began the year as my preseason number 1, but now he's 3rd. It's weird how everything's changed.
Where would you put the Oklahoma guard at? Because I know like he's.
I'm gonna look and see if
Oklahoma, you would be well coached at the next level.
I'm looking to see where I have Oklahoma. I have Fabachi Nwayu, the right guard at 85. Is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah, Fabachi.
Okay.
Yeah, that dude.
Fabachi. Okay. Just wanted to double check, make sure I have the right lineman.
That guy is the one that's projected to play guard, and he's played a little bit of tackle also.
I didn't know he played tackle in addition to guard. I know he was Oklahoma's starting right guard. I didn't know about the tackle experience. That's a bonus.
Yeah, I had to look it up. He did play some games. I think in the beginning of the year when he was like first coming into Oklahoma, they had him switched in a little bit, and then they put him at guard this year. But he looks like a natural.
Yeah.
Let's see. You know, speaking of a controversial offensive lineman, bro, I don't know. Fernando Carmona is somebody that I think is a sleeper when it comes to the draft. I don't know what draft board he's going to be, but he looks the part.
It's weird. When we were doing our mock draft in July, we had the Raven. I think we had the Ravens and the Lion. I think we had the Ravens losing the AFC title, the Bengals. And that aged horribly. That aged worse than sour milk. That aged like that's like putting a Sour Patch Kids in eggnog. That's how bad that prediction aged. I had Bengals Ravens in the AFC Championship in July. That aged worse than a Sour Patch Kid in eggnog, literally. But
yeah,
that aged worse than that. But
the Bengals are so far up and down. They don't have a defense. You know, they're having their. You know, Trey Hendrickson, whatever's going on with him.
Let me get back to my draft story, though, involving the Ravens. We were debating between 2 guards. One was Carmona. That was who we were originally going to put there. But then we looked at Voorhees is still under contract and Falele's a free agent. We didn't know that the Ravens were going to move Emory Jones inside to guard. And that's why I went with Reed Adams. But it was one of those decisions where we were originally going to go with Carmona. So that's why Carmona's been on my radar for such a long time as well. Yeah, but it was that close of a decision.
Yeah, he was a transfer from San Jose State, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another hometown kid, you know, if you're talking about the Niners, you know, and I've seen so many people talking about the Niners on social media. Oh, we need defensive line. It's like that's what we did last year in the draft, and you know it's like if we're healthy, you know, we have one of the best D lines in the business, and you know, I mean, what we need here is the wide receivers, the tight end, and the offensive line. You know,
if they want to take a D tackle in round 1 to fortify the defensive line, fine, but there's no reason to take an edge rusher with Mikael Williams and Bosa coming back in the first round.
No, maybe you can get one. Maybe
you got Alfred Collins. You got Alfred Collins on there. I think he's a future starter, but you don't have anyone next to Collins. You know. So if there's a D tackle you love and you want to pick a D tackle, fine. But there's no reason to pick a DN that early.
No,
you got Keon White for depth too. He had a
Messidor. What about him? He might be. He's looks pro ready, even though he's older.
Messidor, I have him in the second.
Well, you have him in the second, but he looks pro ready.
He is. Yeah, but I feel like his ceiling's not as high as some of the guys in round 1, but he is pro ready. He's got a great floor. I think his floor is better than Jalen Phillips, but I wasn't high on Phillips. not because of the injury history. I was just more enamored by Rosso's tape. A lot of people fell in love with the athletic traits that Jalen Phillips showed at the Senior Bowl before the medicals kicked in once he got to the NFL. And he had medicals at UCLA, and then they went away when he went to Miami. But the
Those are
scouts basically just covered it up because he was at Miami. He's healthy at Miami.
maybe because he even threatened to retire too at one point.
Yeah.
There is another guy that I've seen a lot about. Howell from Texas A&M. He's the defensive.
Cassius Howell. I had a midseason first on him. I have him in the early third at the moment, but he could get picked as early as 31 by New England because New England may just try to build the positional value pyramid. They may take because that's the thing. The positional value pyramid was created by John Dorsey when he was on the Kansas City Chiefs. He took that formula with him to Cleveland. Brett Veach learned under him and continued the positional value pyramid in Kansas City. And guess who was Elliott Wolf, Patriots GM? He was Dorsey's understudy in Cleveland. Now he's in New England. So you got three teams, the Chiefs, the Browns, the Patriots, that put a lot of emphasis on the positional value pyramid. It feels like the rest of the league goes for value over need, though. Lions go for value over need. You look at their draft history the last 5 years, they've gone value over need every single time, especially on day one.
Yeah, he's considered a pretty interesting prospect, but I think he's undersized a little bit, and I think that's what people look at.
I've got him at 67, but I had him in the first round in the preseason, but I think he's got to go to the right team, right?
Yeah, and I love best player available.
Go ahead, best player available. He probably has to fit the right system, but R. Mason Thomas seems like a good fit for a different.
I agree. R. Mason Thomas, another top 100 guy. You were reading my mind today. I've got Donnie Dennis Sutton at 68 and R. Mason Thomas at 83. But I've got each of those guys firmly planted in that third round before I mentioned some of the fourth round guys earlier. And Joshua Jacobs is the next man up after R. Mason Thomas. Joshua Josephs, Tennessee edge rusher. He took over after James Pierce Jr. left and dominated with the Falcons this year.
Now he's facing charges, but yeah, I get it. Yeah, he was good.
He might be worth a flyer on day 3. I'm not saying he'll succeed at the next level, but he might be worth a flyer on day 3.
Depends on what system he goes on, too.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm thinking for like those kind of guys with high upside. I mean, that one kid from Auburn, what's his name?
Keldrick Falk? Not Falk?
Not the other guy. It's another defensive end. It's Crawford or something, I believe.
I think he went back to Auburn.
Oh, he did?
I believe Auburn's got a player in the 2027 draft that went back who had a very high 2026 grade.
Tough one.
Yeah,
yes, it was Xavier Atkins. He went back to Auburn. I don't know what happened to Crawford, but Xavier Atkins went back to Auburn.
But it says there's another Auburn defensive end who's probably going to be a 3rd or 4th round grade.
That's nuts. Because I don't have a guy. Falk's the only Auburn player we have in the first 4 rounds. Maybe. Yeah, I think.
I'm gonna have to show you who that guy is. He seems to pop in the board.
Yeah,
but then there's that Michigan kid, Derek Moore, looked pretty damn good too.
I've got him at 31 on the board. That's my number 1 target for the Patriots.
Dude, I loved it. Turning on.
He dominated the Senior Bowl.
Dude, he ragdolled that tackle from Miami, bro.
Yeah, the first thing I saw was him blow up that tackle from Miami, and it was like, damn, dude, he just got under him.
Like nothing, bro.
Yeah, and having a player like that, I wouldn't have any problem, drafting
Derek
him.
Moore's a beast. He literally made Miami's 350-pound left tackle look like a Viva Pinata doll, and I should be arrested for having to make that joke, the Viva Pinata joke. I should be arrested for having to bring that up on this show.
Bro, insult the injury, but he looks like he's got the good get-offs and he's physically strong. Like, he was a tough one to block from what I'm looking at, but yeah, I think he would be a good rotation piece if they were to
fail. Well, getting away from this a bit, I want to talk about the point that I knew that San Francisco was done for the year was watching George Kittle tear his Achilles. It was like that. That was it. After that's who this offense runs through is that guy. And there are some tight ends that are definitely up there this year. It's not a class like last year to where I had 4 first round tight ends. I've got 2 first round tight ends and 2 second round tight ends. And that's what we need with this team. And it's going to be interesting what Lynch and Shanahan know, because it takes 3-4 years for a tight end to show you exactly who he is. They come out there, have to do everything a wide receiver does and everything a left tackle does, and they get paid half as much. Don't get the credit. But my number one tight end this year isn't from watching the film this year, because he was playing for Ohio State, and tight ends just aren't valued as much. They're the 4th or 5th read every time at Ohio State. But Max Clare, when he was playing for Purdue, watching this guy, he is an absolute ghost on underneath zone coverage. I mean, I had to sit there and hit rewind so many times just to see where the hell he came from.
Because when we were talking about tight ends back in May, June, the first 2 tight ends William brought up were Kozoil from Ball State and Claire from Purdue before both of them entered the portal. He was on top of things there. I had Stowers as my tight end 1 in August, Kozoil at 2. And then I've got Sadiq and Stowers are my 2 first-round guys now. I have Jolly as tight end 3. I think his upside's higher, but his floor might be lower. He did have some drops in the Senior Bowl. And then Kozoil and Claire. But those 5 tight ends in my top 100, they're the only tight ends that made it. There was not a tight end in round 4 of our draft simulator. So there's a big drop-off from Claire to tight end 6.
Yeah. But
What
about this Alabama tight end, bro? I like what I've seen from his tape.
All right. I got to take a look at him.
I definitely have to take a look at him too. I mean,
I have not been high on Alabama's tight ends in recent years. I mean, ever since O.J. Howard declared Alabama's tight end, Alabama's not been the same in terms of producing tight ends.
Was a project.
Juniors as well.
Yeah, but Latu was more of a project. I didn't see much of the where I was saying, "Oh yeah, let's get this guy." I didn't see it like that. But when I saw with Josh Cuevas, I see that he does the dirty work, and he can be a yak kind of tight end also.
Yeah,
he's like that option route where if you throw him a pass, he'll break in a tackle. He'll be an easy route for the quarterback. He's not the quickest, but he can run some routes for a tight end.
Yeah, and Tongas actually he showed up and played that position well for who he is, and with the first round tight ends in here, there is so much about Kenyon Sadiq that is misunderstood. I mean, this guy, he is absolutely unbelievable as a blocker. I mean, he is going to get on the field early and often. People saying, "Oh yeah, no, he'll stretch defenses, do this." That's not his strong point. He has a lot to learn when it comes to running routes, when it comes to catching ball, just how it is. But he is an absolute beast when it comes to blocking. If you get by him one time, the next play he will put you right on your ass, and it's as simple as that.
He's a good blocking, but I don't know if you guys saw the other saw the Senior Bowl with Josh Cuevas, bro. His block was fucking unbelievable.
I didn't happen to catch that because I had something going on.
Yeah, but you guys haven't checked much of the Alabama tight end. I think this might be the change of the trend. Is Cuevas might be low-key underrated because he transferred from Cal Poly, if I'm mistaken.
Nice.
Okay,
he's a thick tight end. He's like 6'3".
I know I've got Justin Jolly next on my list, but now I'm listening to you now. You said 6'3", what?
6'3", 250 or something. But when you throw him when he catches in a pass, bro, you could throw in a short pass or a screen pass, bro. This dude would break a tackle and get you some chunk plays out of it, bro. There's different ways how you can use them. I think if we're not going to go high on a tight end, then maybe we wait for the Alabama tight end.
I like this running back group too, but the problem is the running back group last year was so good. It feels like as a result, this running back group. It dipped, but it also feels like it's in purgatory. Love and Fletcher are the 2 round 1 grades I have. I've got Coleman and Emmett Johnson in round 2. I've got Katron Allen at 64 on my simulator. Singleton was a preseason round 1 guy, now a day 3 guy. My sleeper in round 3 is Singh Bangura, 1,500 rushing yards for the Ohio Bobcats in the MAC. Bangura is a legit talent.
That's another thing too. Getting away from tight ends so much, but how many miles does Christian McCaffrey have left? I
Doesn't
mean,
got a lot. Doesn't got much left, so you're gonna have to give him a complimentary. But the problem is, bro,
yeah,
we gotta let guys like Jordan James and Garando get some touches, bro. What's the point?
Bangura kind of
Jordan James,
reminds me of
man.
Marshawn Lynch coming out of Cal, but he didn't play the level of competition Beast Mode played. He played at Ohio. So,
Jordan James, playing at Oregon like he did and following Bucky Irving, he was like Bucky Irving but bigger. Hell,
Physical, and then he's
hell of
got
a physical
a
back.
patient runner. You're there?
well, yeah, I'm here. Levy and Moss, another guy in this draft. I don't know if James is in this draft. Hankerson's in this draft.
They got Ott that came
Whatever
out of the
one.
draft too.
Jaden Ott, Oklahoma. Yeah,
I
he was
loved Ott coming
beast
out.
2 years ago. I loved Ott at Cal. He hasn't been the same at Oklahoma, but I think the Senior Bowl showed that's a coaching problem, not a
Yeah.
talent problem. That's a coaching problem.
Well,
Oklahoma.
it's like the thing with Max Clare, playing for Ohio State after going to Purdue. It's like you have to watch his Purdue tape to see who he is because, like I said, Ohio State, they had what's his name, Baby Gronk, that tight end that plays for the Texans now. They picked him in the 5th round, but
Yeah.
he played for Ohio State and being the 4th or 5th option every time, it was like, dude, this guy is a legitimate, first, second round tight end that can absolutely play. But
I had him in
Ohio
round
State
3,
doesn't
but yeah,
use him
your
like
point's your
Oh,
point
you're talking about
remains
Stover,
valid.
right? You're talking about Stover.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cade Stover.
Yeah.
And it's like we need one of those guys coming up that's going to be drafted late or later.
Josh Cuevas might be that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but
There's-
you guys haven't done much on him. You might need to give me a different opinion about it. Like, I think he kind of fits.
Those are the 2 that are next on my list is Justin Jolly and now your guy there. So
Yeah, and I'm gonna be making up like a much longer Craigslist, but I'm also gonna be looking at some things for round 5 because once you get to round 5, you got to start. Where do we put the FCS guys on the board? Because I think I have 12 draftable FCS players. I don't think all 12 of them are going to get drafted, but I've got Bryce Lance, Delby Lemieux is the one guy who I thought did well enough at the Senior Bowl to challenge Lance for the FCS 1 in my rankings. I've got Montgomery from John Carroll at 3.
Oh,
Probably
Montgomery's good.
Southeast Louisiana at 4. Gerard Washington, South Carolina State corner, double-digit deflections at 20. I think he had 21 at South Carolina State at 5. Declan Williams from Incarnate World came in at 6. Joe Cooper, Shrine Bowl invite from my alma mater, Slippery Rock, came in at 7. If you want a guy that could be a Jalen Moore back replacement, worst case scenario, Trent Williams successor, best case scenario in round 6 or 7, Joe Cooper's your man. Michael Wortham, Montana. Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin was at the
I like
Senior
him.
Bowl. Came in at 8th on the. He came in at 9th on this list. 10, Cole Payton, North Dakota State. I thought his Senior Bowl game was awful. I had Payton at 2 entering the Senior Bowl, but I thought his Senior Bowl game was just awful. William will attest to that. Cole Payton in the Senior Bowl game was brutal, but Jeremiah said he had the best practice of the 6 QBs. And then the final 2 guys on this list, Jalen Walthall from Incarnate World and Florida A&M's Ashton Grable, who may end up kicking inside to guard or center, rounded out this list. I was going to put Antonio Gates Jr. on the list, but he hardly got any play time in the FCS, and I think he went back.
Yeah,
What
'cause
position is
probably
he
needs
playing?
production, yeah.
Antonio Gates Jr. is a wide receiver, but he's
Oh,
being
okay.
coached by Deshaun Jackson at Norfolk State.
Well, yeah, no, wait, actually, it's Delaware State because I think that's where
Delaware
Mike
State, yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
Deshaun.
yeah.
But Antonio Gates Jr., the son of Antonio Gates, he's being coached by Deshaun Jackson. That's a wild card. Maybe a hybrid, maybe a poor man's Darren Waller if he plays his cards right and turns things around next year. We'll see. It's too early to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
The one thing with the small school players, coming in, having a good practice and then a terrible Senior Bowl, that just shows the competition that he's going up against. And maybe he had a bad day, or maybe it's just the point that
But it's like Jeremiah said he was the best quarterback of the six at the Senior Bowl, and we both said that Diego Pavia and Nussmeier were head and shoulders above the class in Mobile, and they both ended
very
up
much.
starting in the Senior Bowl. So, are we wrong or is he wrong? I don't know, but I feel like NFL teams are going to agree with us more so than him come draft day, but we'll see. We don't know.
Man,
That's
Diego Pavia, man. That I'm hearing a lot of hype on this Vanderbilt quarterback.
He's my QB2. I have him at 33 on the draft simulator, despite the character concerns.
the
That
Mexican
should
Johnny
tell
Manziel,
you.
man. The Mexican
That
Johnny
should
Manziel.
tell you everything
There
you
you
need to
go,
know.
man.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's got a little immaturity, but he can play because he
Exactly.
he was coming out of New Mexico State, right? And then he
Yep.
transferred to Vanderbilt, but he's
Yep.
got some weapons. The tight end Eli Stowers is pretty good. Vanderbilt was very competitive in the SEC, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a huge factor of why they were competitive, actually. So you got to give
Yeah,
him credit
sure.
on that part.
Mendoza only had 3 games with 300 total yards. You know who had 9? Pavia, but that
Pavia.
accounts rushing and passing yards combined. When I say 9 games with 300 total yards, that accounts for rushing and passing yards combined.
I just
So
don't get the hype
Pavia,
on Mendoza. I just don't get the hype on Mendoza. Like, yeah, I get that he had a good production, but he wasn't a 300-yard passer. Like, when you looked at Curtis Work, didn't he
or
have
300 total yards if you take scrambling into account. Pavia had 9 games where he had 300 total yards this season out of 12. That's pretty consistent, and it's getting underappreciated because of Pavia's incident where he vented about how he should have won the Heisman instead of Mendoza.
or his size too, because they think he's short, dude. They even have there's some people that have him listed 6 foot, and some of them have him listed.
Yeah, and people think the guy has red flags because his role models are Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield. He may be a little goofy, but he's not immature. He may be misunderstood. And when I say goofy, I mean he's misunderstood. I don't mean he's actually goofy. I mean he's misunderstood by people.
Hey, I can't hate if he's gonna go party with a bunch of random chicks, bro. I can't hate on that.
Exactly.
Hey, if I was still in my 20s, I'd have fun too, bro. But
Well, it's the point, they call him 5'10" or whatever, or quarter inch, 5'9" and 3/4, whatever it was.
that's what they're saying because he was too short or something, bro. But he can play.
Well, Bryce Young was that tall, but this guy actually has his body filled out. Bryce Young has a body of a 50-year-old boy.
So
And
Bryce
it's like-
Young's a Fisher Price toy, and Diego Pavia is a Fisher Price toy with wheels. That's
Diego
basically what you're
Pavia
saying.
That's the difference, I
If
guess.
you're gonna use Fisher Price, think Chucky.
Oh, dude.
That's what this guy should be called, man.
I think
He's got a severe case of little man syndrome, but he knows how to use the weapons that he has. Eli Stars it was his best weapon, and Eli Stars,
Yeah,
obviously
that's true.
6'3", 6'4", 235 pounds is small for a tight end. But he can absolutely play that flex role, to get some mismatches and such in the NFL, and he absolutely, is a good tight end. And Pavia knew how to use him. They beat Alabama for the second year in a row, didn't they?
Yeah.
And, it's like that was the best competition, that there could be. This isn't some small school guy coming out
He
there.
beat Nussmeier this year in the regular season. He almost swept Alabama. He beat them at home, lost them in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
And
It's like, I think I have Pavia at quarterback 4 now, but it's still the point that he is that guy that can go out there. He's smart enough to do it. You know, he's smart enough to use his size, you know, how he can. And
So
it's
how would teams would view him like in the offense? Like
Like
even though if you take away the size aside, which team would probably be the better fit for him as far as his skill set? Like there's just got to be a certain team that would fit his
I
style.
know a lot of people have put Ty Simpson in day one as at QB2, but I would rather have Pavia or Carson Beck or Trinidad Chambliss if you're uncomfortable with Pavia's height or Carson Beck going from cheating on his girlfriend to dating a former porn star. If that's a red flag for you, if that's a
I
red
would
flag for
say,
you, I don't care what Carson Beck does with his personal life, but if NFL teams do, that the scout might get fired if they pass on him in the draft and he
You're
surprises
Pavia
people.
then if you want to make it safe. Get a
yeah,
cool guy.
we'll
Get a cool
just
guy at the party.
we'll put it this way: Carson Beck is my QB1. I won't lie about that,
Oh,
and
he
it's just
cheated on his
because
girl. I
of the
didn't know that.
competition he has played against. And you know, I mean, he still needs the players around him. But you mentioned what team would be good for Pavia, and I'm going to say I almost said the Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. You know, because of having Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers at tight end. You know, those are two of the best tight
So
ends come out
Mendoza's going to be
in the
taken there,
last
so
few
that's going to
years.
be tough.
Yeah, but Mendoza, he's this long, tall, you know,
And the
gumby
thing is,
playing
the
quarterback. You know that.
Raiders are asking for 4 number ones and Garrett Wilson for Mendoza. Half the teams wouldn't even give that up for a prospect like Caleb Williams or Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning. 4 number ones
Well,
and Garrett Wilson.
they pumped, you know, they pumped Caleb Williams way too high compared to what he should have been. And it's the point that sports media is doing that because they have to have their quarterbacks to make their money, to get their interest and everything else. So they absolutely overhype
So
these
he
players. They're taken way too high, you know?
so for Pavia, I mean, how would he? I mean, so he would fit in a West Coast offense with the way how the Raiders are going to run it, right?
Yeah, I
So
believe
he would
West Coast
fit
might
well
be
with the
his best.
Niners, right? He would fit
I
well
think the
with
best case scenario for Mendoza is probably a guy like Matt Schaub. But now people are hyping him up to where he's in the same tier as some of these blue chip QBs, whether it's Caleb, whether it's Lawrence, and he's not that. But because Indiana's run was so surreal, people are going to expect him to be that. And if he's not that at the NFL level, he's going to be considered a failure.
He's not going to be that. And it's like,
He's more of a
Exactly,
Jimmy Garoppolo.
William. I mean, look at the division he's in. He's in the same division as Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, 2 of my top 5 regular season QBs, and Bo Nix, who just got the Broncos the AFC title.
he has so much work to do.
Mendoza's a
between-
mobile version of what you look at, but I think when you look at the talent, I think you see a little bit of him and Curtis Rourke, right? Because Curtis Rourke isn't quite mobile, right? But he's got the pocket presence. But you see more with Mendoza when he uses his legs, right? So he's more like maybe a poor man's Brock. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
I
kinda
see
fits-
Kirk Cousins with the arm strength and intelligence of Matt Schaub, which isn't a bad thing, but that's if you're looking for a blue chip QB or a Pro Bowl QB, that's not the guy to take it 1.
So he
Well-
would be like he would be like Kirk Cousins, just a little mobile, right?
Yeah, but his arm would be stronger than Cousins. His accuracy, some of that would be on par with like Schaub, I think. I don't know.
can agree with that, but he needs to stop telegraphing his throws. He needs to get a quarterback coach in there. You know, it's because cornerbacks and safeties are absolutely going to eat him alive at the level when they see him start his throwing motion. It's going to be bad.
It's going to happen often because it's the Raiders, bro.
Yeah, they don't have an offensive line. Obviously, they're starting to get the skill positions figured out. Well, they've got tight ends and I can't say so much for the wide receivers.
How long is Kubiak going to stay is the question. I think he's going to stay for a couple years.
Mendoza's talented, but this is the same problem Christian Ponder had coming out of Florida State. He would look at he would stare down his receivers too long, and he would telegraph his throws pre-snap. That was the thing Ponder, because Ponder had all the pocket awareness, the accuracy, the arm, the durability in college, all that checked out, but his pre-snap and his delivery, his wind-up, like you said, William, that was Ponder's flaw. He couldn't overcome that at the NFL.
So
Yeah.
Christian Ponder was actually as good in the Senior Bowl. Like the way he played the Senior Bowl, that's what moved up his draft stock too. So
Yeah.
so the pocket presence of
But that
Mendoza.
draft was an absolute crapshoot after Cam Newton because Cam Newton won the national title. Jake Locker was the preseason #1 guy. He ended up going 8th. Blaine Gabbert. I felt like both Gabbert and Cam Newton were boom or bust, but my gut was telling me Cam Newton's closer to boom. Blaine Gabbert's closer to bust. My gut was completely correct about that. And Ponder looked decent his first 2 years, but he completely sucked in year 3, and then he got benched.
Well, with those quarterbacks that you're sitting there talking about, it's like Christian Ponder was doing things. Cam Newton. They had him. So many people at the middle of first round. Behind some of these quarterbacks, but I'll have to say that Blaine Gabbert. I mean, was the same size, had the same.
He was considered NFL ready from the
Yeah.
competition he played at, but he just didn't
You
see
know?
the part.
Well, he also was the end of Colin Kaepernick with the
Oh
Niners.
yeah, he was like kind of like on the
I
controversial.
when I watched
Yeah.
Gabbert in college, I saw a guy who only knew how to run a shotgun spread offense, and that impression never really changed until he became a solid backup at the NFL level.
Even at Jacksonville, he wasn't nothing special there.
Exactly, he was not. He was basically a shotgun spread guy in Jacksonville. In order for him to become an effective pro style quarterback, he had to embrace the role of the backup quarterback for a few years.
Well,
and get,
yeah,
and
and that's also
And Ryan
also
Mallett
the
was
same
in that
time.
draft too, I believe. I was not a fan of him coming out of Arkansas, but there were a lot of people that loved his arm, thought his
was not.
accuracy and his
No.
traits would get cleaned up. I didn't. I felt
I
like
never
he
much
could only
cared for
make a
Mallett.
3. Yeah.
He had character issues off the field.
That
too,
is
Yeah.
absolutely when offenses started getting more simplistic to where they could get these mobile quarterbacks in there to play. And I'll talk about that so much. They have simplified these offenses so much to be like college. It's there's not so much different. The RPO came back at the same time. With Cam Newton and Blaine Gabbert and them, and it was just the beginning of change. They figured out in the early 2000s, that the offenses were just way too much for these talented players to actually overcome. So they started making it,
Yeah,
the offenses fit.
quarterback started to evolve more because
Yeah.
it used to be more of a slow quarterback where they would be more of a good pocket presence, but everybody thought that the scrambling quarterbacks was changing the position. But then in reality, if you weren't quite a pocket passer, it didn't matter about your athletic ability.
You had to be both,
You had to be both at both sides, yeah.
and that was one thing, Cam Newton, he still had a little bit of a wind up, but as hard as he threw the damn ball, it didn't matter because it got there faster. It wasn't kind of broken. And with some of these quarterbacks, it's like Phillip Rivers with his 3-quarter throwing motion. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But there are players like Tim Tebow that absolutely had this God forbidding, second and a half wind up kind of thing going on, this looping thing. But, that was why, they started simplifying these offenses, was to get these guys in there that could be, that mobile guy so they could have a dual threat quarterback, but it just so happens that, that it
2030 is
works,
going to be a special year for the Rivers family. It's when Philip Rivers is eligible for the Hall of Fame, and it's also when his oldest son Gunnar would be draft eligible for the NFL draft, assuming he dominates in college the way he's dominated in high school so far. So both of those things could happen in the same year. So Gunnar could get drafted in April 2030, and then 2, 3, 4 months later, Philip Rivers is enshrined in Canton because he unretired. Isn't that crazy? Both of those things could happen in the same year.
It could be possible, yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but theoretically it could happen 5 years from now.
It could happen from 5 years from now. But like you said, it has to depend on the competition he competes. Like if his son goes on a good college and plays well, he'll definitely get recognition. Just like Arch Manning's getting some recognition a little bit, even though he was a work in progress.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's the thing with Arch Manning too, is he's been an okay quarterback, but he's got those Manning shoes to fill. So it's going to be real interesting this next year when he comes out for Texas and
I mean,
seeing.
he started off the season very slow and struggling. Then he
Mhm.
started getting it together as the season progressed. But that's
Well,
still
that's generally
he
what
needs 4
happens.
years.
Yeah, and that's generally what happens when a college quarterback starts to actually show who he is generally, a second or third year, just like I mentioned with tight ends earlier, but in college, it's to
I
actually
just don't think
see
it
who he
fits his
is.
offense. I just
These
don't
one
think
year wonders are a crapshoot. It's like flipping a coin. It's
I
like
yeah,
just I think it's a different kind of skill set of what Manning. I don't think he fits well into Texas offense. I just think Texas does a little bit of a different style offense. I think if Manning wanted to be successful, he would have to go to somewhere like Ole
or-
Miss
okay.
or Tennessee, like his
I've
old.
got a question for you about Gunner. Right now, the top 5 colleges are Auburn, Boston College, Miami, Florida, North Carolina State, recruited by Kurt Roper, and South Carolina. Of those 5, what do you think's the best fit? Because I think if he wants to play right away, Boston College or NC State would be the best fit. If he wants to go to an SEC program, get a lot of NIL money, he should go to Auburn, South Carolina. Maybe he goes to the U. I don't know.
I love
He
to see
probably would
some of
follow
those
his dad's
players.
shoes.
What?
He might just follow in his shoes and go to NC State.
Yeah, because they're the only one of these 5 colleges that has actually had a recruiter come to him. And let's face it, if he takes Boston College or NC State to the playoff and they get to like the semifinals but lose the number 1 team in the country, that's going to be enough to get him in the first round. Whether it's enough to be QB1, that remains to be seen. But if he has the same trajectory as his father and he takes a team like Boston College or NC State to the Final Four of the CFB playoff, that would be enough, I think, to get him.
But if he wants to submit his own legacy, it would have to go to Boston College instead of NC State. But I think
Yeah.
NC State would probably be somewhere where he could just follow the same path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he'd follow the same path, but if he goes to Boston College, there's possibility he's being coached by Bill O'Brien.
And that
Which
would
would be an NFL caliber coach.
Yeah, that's true.
exactly. And I love Boston College, seeing some of the players come out of there. Luke Kuechly, for instance, they have
I mean,
players.
they've had some good offensive line that come out of Boston College too, and quite a few other.
They do.
They even got the receiver Lewis Bonds, who's coming out of Boston College, right? The receiver.
Yep.
And Boston College is also, it's not quite Ivy League, but it's right there. I mean, they have it's one of the best colleges in the country for what you got going on upstairs, and that alone says so
Matt
much.
Ryan went there.
And like I said, I just like watching some of these players come out of there. Oh, I can't believe there's a lineman a few years back, but
Yeah. After Matt Ryan graduated, they started to get a lot of linemen from Anthony Costanzo, and then they started getting multiple tackles. Ozzie Trapillo this year. I mean,
I'd love to see him go to Boston College, but I understand.
I don't.
the NC State
I
thing.
think he's probably they're going to go to NC State or South Carolina. I think he's going to
Yeah.
stay in the Carolinas if I had to guess.
Yeah. And obviously playing for the Wolfpack, following in his dad's shoes would be interesting because they haven't been on the map for a minute now. I mean,
Yeah, honestly, because NC State, I don't think NC State or Boston College has been on the map in college football in a long, long time.
Yeah.
So that's why, as a fan, I'd like to see him go to one of those 2 schools. But ultimately, it's his decision, it's his choice, and he gets final say at the end of the day where he wants to enroll. So,
and also you mentioned that in 2030. Well, in 2035, Phillip Rivers might have enough kids to actually field a team.
well, he's already got like 10. I think he's got like 10
he
to
hit
13.
10. I think he hit 10 this last year.
He hit 10, so he's got enough kids to where he could actually field an offense with his children.
He can still play quarterback, so I mean,
dude, Phillip Rivers could be getting another fucking kid.
So he's going to start creating kids on defense to go with the 10 kids on offense. He's going to start creating kids on defense.
Hey,
that's like that.
For all we know, he might have just slept with a chick in Indianapolis.
You know what? I've got an idea for the idea to replace the Pro Bowl. We have Rivers kids versus Cromartie's kids, and that's the Pro Bowl games next year. That is, I will watch that. ESPN, if you make that happen, I will tune in. Rivers versus Cromartie, 11 on 11.
They both played for the same exact school before too, so they played for the Chargers, so they would probably deliver and choke, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
I think the Pro Bowl should be either, like the best kids from high school or
Don't
college
you like
that are
this
about to
idea,
go in
William? Rivers versus Cromartie for the
Yeah,
Pro
the
Bowl
Child
games.
Bowl.
This is a great
I
idea. This
absolutely
is a $1
love it.
million idea at work
And
here.
that- and
it's
that's
better
what,
than the actual Pro Bowl that we're watching currently. I can't stand that Pro Bowl.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, it's like, what's going on here? It's like, okay, just going off your Rivers Cromartie thing. That's absolutely brilliant, by the way.
That's
But-
got some a little bit of something into it, yeah. And then
But I mean, to see the best college kids or high school kids, make it like a draft thing, make it a Pro Bowl to where these kids are about to turn pro.
Oh,
Make
that's
it
right.
an all-star team.
For the Rivers Cromartie game, Rivers and
Right.
Cromartie have to draft kids from both families to put together a team.
oh man, come on, man.
Yes. Yes,
All right,
William.
man, we already got onto the good start, man. Hey, maybe we'll do something in a very later future, man. You guys do your under the bleacher stuff, huh?
Yeah.
We'll probably chop it up more on that type of stuff, but we're gonna probably need to do more draft simulator. Maybe I'll do it in your guys' show.
Yeah. I feel like Marshall Manning's going to end up being better than Arch Manning, but it's too early to say that since I think Marshall's only in 6th grade.
Oh,
Gotta let him live a little.
You
Gotta
guys
let him
think
live a
too-
little. Tell him grow, live a little.
You guys think too far of the future. We're not even there yet. Like I'm.
I don't know. It's just a hunch. My hunch
it's a
is my
hunch
gut's
for
usually right, and that's what
It's
my
a-
gut's telling me.
It's a hunch for sure. Like you always know that the generation comes out of the blue, but I mean, we'll see how it goes. But we're gonna have to do more of the simulator.
We can't even have this conversation on 24/7 Sports for another 4 years.
Nah, we can't go there, bro. Let's not
We
go
can't.
there.
We can't. Okay,
No.
you gotta let these kids live a little and have fun in middle school. I was a wide receiver on our flag football team and homeroom because each of the homerooms in our middle school had a flag football team. Our flag football team was the undefeated, won the championship.
Yeah,
Nice.
My middle school team didn't have really much of a championship. We were just a laughing stock.
Oh man.
So yeah,
I
was
was the
playing,
only guy. I was the only guy on the team that was good on the team, dude. I was always making the effort.
Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school, playing varsity football, and it was like our JV team could have beat our varsity team. And it's, well, with me playing, of course, I actually played the tight end and then the slot role at, slot receiver because of the offense we played.
The one
I didn't have the right name
the right
to
name.
play quarterback, but other than that, then I picked the positions where I could be best at, or I could take out the quarterback, like safety or linebacker on defense.
Man, they had me different positions, bro, but they always try to put me at offensive line, bro. I just never really cared for it until I actually had to go play out there. But
Yeah.
I had to appreciate the O-line position when I had to go play those semi-pros, bro. That was where
Yep.
I had to start working my grind a little bit. But
Yeah.
the one thing that gave me the advantage of being an O-line was I knew exactly what the D-line was going to do before they were going to do something. And I always got away with playing the way I always played, and they would always complain and say, hey, why is this guy not getting called holding? Because I just had a – and then they would – dude, the crazy part was they would try to even throw a fist at me, bro, and I was just trying to play the game the way I wanted to play. Didn't care. Had that little – I had a little bit of that Carmoto guy, whatever his name is. That dude was a little bit feisty. I was a little bit like him.
Yeah.
Dude, I was even called a lot of shit even as an O-line, bro. And some people, even in practice, bro, I was a little too physical, and they told me to tone that shit down. Didn't give a
Oh,
shit.
I didn't care for that because, like I said, man, I didn't have the right last name to play quarterback, even though, I was
another
15
idea
years
just
old.
hit my brain. What if you replaced the Pro Bowl with the MVP Bowl? You had the top 2 MVP candidates, like this year, May and Stafford,
And they,
and they
pick
put
whoever they
together a
want.
team, and whichever team wins, that's who gets the MVP, and you
But
call
they
it the
have to
MVP
pick
Bowl.
the actual talent, not the ones that were voted, bro. They got to pick the actual ones who were actually more.
Yeah, the actual people who earned the right to be there, not the call-ups, not the AAA
the
call-ups
Shador.
like
I like
Shador
Shador
Sanders.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I like Shador, but it just seemed like a popular vote.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's all it was, man. And
No gimmicks. The
like,
best players
Good.
show up to play, and we have an MVP bowl. Think
like I
about it.
was saying,
We
man,
get
my
rid
high
of the
school
media
team,
voters, and we have an MVP bowl, and that's how we decide who wins the MVP. Think
That's how
about
it
it.
should be. Like, you should handpick the actual talent, bro. But the worst
Yeah.
Pro Bowl in the history of the Pro Bowl is Jake Brendel.
Because if
bro.
we
Who
want to
the hell
bring the
Jake
Pro
Brendel?
Bowl back to where it was in the 90s, 2000s, when it was at its peak, this is how we have to do it. We have to rebrand it as the MVP Bowl and put
Or
the
with
top
the
2
Sean
MVP
Taylor,
candidates in the
Sean Taylor
game.
where you hit the punter.
well, that was a problem why our varsity team sucked at Hotchkiss High School, and it was because the coaches.
Kevin Gogan.
It had to be the players that had the right name. Their parents were something or whatever, to where it was a popular vote. The politics was just overwhelming, and like I said, that's why I like playing safety and linebackers.
I hated playing
Take 'em
offensive
out.
line, but that was something I had to appreciate, man. Try to
Yeah.
like playing defense was something I learned a lot from playing O-line, bro, because I knew exactly what the defender was going to do. And
Yeah.
I always watched a lot of Trent Williams tape, and I always seen how he was able to like take some people down, and it was legal. And sometimes those defenders would get so mad that they would try to throw a fist at me. And
Yeah.
even coaches from the other sidelines would complain and say, "Hey, how come he got away with holding?" That's what it was with me, bro. I was a little too feisty.
When it came to playing safety or linebacker, it didn't matter what I would do. The first time someone tried to cross the middle, a receiver, no matter who it was, no matter how late it was, I would hit him as hard as I could, make him not want to cross the middle again. And that's how I knew how to play high school football. The intimidation factor.
From all the blocking.
Yeah.
I even used my forearm to cheap shot somebody, bro. I got a couple penalized for that shit, bro. I didn't care.
Away with it.
Had scars, bro. Didn't care. Loved the game, bro. That's what I like about but playing O-line wasn't something I enjoyed playing until at the end of my days, bro. I had to appreciate it.
One of our best offensive linemen, man, was this 150-pound Hispanic kid, but he had that attitude. It was like Diego Pavia in 150. He played center, but he had that attitude, and that's why he could actually play ball. It was it's that mean streak, and it's something I look for in players when it comes to line, when it comes to defense, whatever it is, but obviously this Pro Bowl thing needs to get switched. It's
gotten boring, bro.
Like
there's no entertainment, bro. There's no fight. There's no.
Yeah, instead of it trending forward, and having an MVP bowl with the best actual talent on both teams, it feels like this Pro Bowl's more likely to head to Disney Plus, and then they'll rename the teams the Mufasa, Team Mufasa, and Team Scar. We'll have a Lion King reference in the Pro Bowl. It's like, man, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
I would be scarred, damn it. Damn. I would be the bad guy then.
All right, beyond all that, man.
I think that's a perfect way to end the show. Yeah. You can decide.
I want to hear who your first 2 draft picks would be in your perfect world, Ruthless.
Oh, my perfect world for the Niners draft?
Yes.
But he's a Bears fan, right?
Huh?
No, Ransom's a Bears fan, right?
I'm a Patriots fan.
Oh, you're a Patriots fan, so you would have your ideal.
So we have common ground. When it comes to enemies, we have common ground with Seattle.
Yeah.
We have common ground.
We do. But y'all fail. We failed. We both failed. So I guess we
both failed. I could say we only failed once, but we also failed more recently, and we failed on a bigger stage. So,
all right, first 2 draft picks, though, man.
You're the Patriots, Nick Wright, man. That's what you are. You sound like Nick Wright. No. But in all seriously, okay, so a perfect world draft pick for the Niners, right? So how many rounds do you think are we going with? Like all the 7 rounds?
If you can go that far, let's do it. Other than that, just do the top 3.
First round. You want an immediate starter, right? You want a guy who can start right off the bat.
obviously.
I would say Casey Concepcion, if he's available, that would be my guy. I want
All
that
right.
game changer. I want a guy that a defense would respect because they don't respect what we have on the receiving core, bro. They're slow.
Yep,
You need that game changing receiver. I
that we
think
do.
Casey Concepcion might be there or he might not be there. But
I think Brazel might be a better fit, but I also love Malachi Fields. But Texas A&M did find a way to limit Fields, and Fields only had one dominant game. That was against Pitt, the game I went to in person.
Yeah.
But he would be a perfect starter from day one. So I would say go with Concepcion, second round.
Okay.
I don't think you have to go offensive line as early as everybody says. You just need to get a plug in, right? So
Yeah.
let's see.
There's a lot of tweeners. There's a lot of tackles that can kick inside to guard this year.
Yeah, I can get one a third or fourth round if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean Brian Parker is a perfect example. He's 23rd on my board. That would be my ideal target for San Francisco, but he might be there in round 2 or even round 3, depending on how this falls.
So round 2, since I already said Casey Concepcion would be my perfect ideal choice. Okay, like we're looking at upgrading different positions, like possibly linebacker or free safety, right?
Yeah.
Talent wise, we're gonna need a free safety, an ideal free safety. Bud Clark has actually kind of stood out.
Yeah.
He might be a day 2 pick. So
I've got him at 106, but he might move into day 2. He was my preseason Big 12 Safety of the Year candidate. Loved his tape. He's been on my radar for a good 7 months.
We still have some risers and fallers coming from the.
So maybe Bud Clark can be a hold on until maybe 3rd round pick, huh?
Well, that's possible.
I would probably want to get him until maybe 3rd round pick.
Michael Taffy out of Texas is a guy you could get in the late second, but I feel like Clark in round 3 or 4 might be better value. That's the thing.
I think I'll probably wait on him, but like if we're going with okay, we're probably gonna need to get a D tackle with rotation. So,
and there's a lot of good defensive tackles. So if you want your pick of the litter, you probably are going to have to take the defensive tackle in the 2nd round and then go for value in round 3.
Grace might move up draft board, so I might. But if Lee Hunter, he's probably going to be gone. That's the second.
Yeah, if Lee Hunter's gone, you've still got options. You've got the Florida defensive tackle. You got the Florida defensive tackle in addition to Corleone. You got a lot of options.
But I don't think he's moving up draft boards. I'm hearing the Darrell Jackson guy. That kid looks good.
Tim Keenan was winning triple teams against interior offensive lines. I think Indiana's offensive line is triple team Keenan just to neutralize him. That's how good Tim Keenan III is. He's my DT3. I've got a 3rd round grade on him. He might move into day 2.
I like that.
I think for a value pick, I've seen what Darrell Jackson has looked at Florida State, but Tim Keenan,
I love this DT class. I have had reservations about re-signing Tonga as a Pats fan. I appreciate everything Tonga's done, but if you can get one of these D tackles in this draft for under $1 million on a 4-year rookie deal, the value just might be too great to ignore if you're a Patriots fan. That's the sad part.
Well, so the
because you put another young beast next to Barmore and Williams, they are going to feast. That interior for New England is going to feast William. If you put another young stud next to Barmore and Williams.
Okay, so 1st round would be ideal with Concepcion, would be simple. For 2nd round, I'm probably going to go linebacker because I think you want to go best value, and maybe Rodriguez might still be there.
Yeah, if he's there, you pick him easily.
I'm going to probably, but realistically, I think Trotter's going to be there, so that might be my perfect ideal. You go best available, and it would upgrade the linebacker position with him and Fred Warner. So I'll go Trotter at that spot. 3rd round, I'm going Bud Clark because you need to solidify your secondary because free safety is one of the weakest spots, and he's looked good on tape.
Yeah.
Let's see. If we want D tackle in the 4th round and go offensive line, we want to get a starting guard. I'm going to go Fernando Carmona Jr. into the 4th round because I want a starting because it doesn't matter who plays next to Trent, right? You just want to plug them in. So Carmona would be your perfect starter right there. and the
Yeah.
offensive line would solidify right there.
Yeah.
Well, unless Buse Stevens is still out there, right? If Buse Stevens is still out there, I might take him just to.
I've got a late second on Stevens, but I know there's a lot of people that have Stevens in round 5. But I don't think he's going to get that far. Even if he falls to the 3rd or 4th round, I don't think Stevens is going to drop to round 5, like the consensus.
I think Komodo would probably be the perfect spot in that round 4. So I get him. He'll be a starter. Corey alone, I don't know where he's moving draft spots, but I'll probably get him at D tackle at that spot. Or you think he's going to probably move up?
I have him at 100 on my current draft simulator, but Caleb Banks in Florida did better at the Senior Bowl than Corleone did at the Shrine Bowl. Corleone's Shrine Bowl week was not great, but I don't. But he's tape from his +1 and his +2 year is really good to the point where I can't ignore him after pick 100.
Oh man, dude, but he would probably slide a little bit because
He might slide to day 3. It's possible. I didn't think initially he'd slide. Now I do.
I would put him at one of my 4th rounds because we do need a D tackle for rotation. For a pass rusher, we're probably going to get somebody as a sleeper. But when we're looking at pass rushers that I've seen,
I love the Central Michigan kid, but he didn't play against quality competition. He struggled. He didn't have any pressures against Pitt. A lot of the Power 4 teams.
The Dave Tucker seems like a nice candidate to have as your edge rusher.
Yeah.
So he would be a good one. Then the 5th round, if we had to choose a perfect ideal, Josh Cuevas will be my 5th round choice. I'm banking on a 5th round tight end like George Kittle. We need that tight end. We need that guy to block.
That we do.
And then the last pick will probably take a flyer on a swing tackle or a developmental project. We'll probably take a lineman or take that center from Cincinnati. What's that dude's name? Gerber or Gerhardt? That center from Cincinnati. I've heard he's pretty solid.
Oh, I'm not sure.
There's a right tackle in Notre Dame that I really like, but he's a 4-year project. I think he's got 4th round upside. If he fixes all his flaws, he's a borderline Pro Bowler, but he's a 4-year project because of how inconsistent and choppy some of his technique is. Notre Dame's right tackle, Emil Wagner.
So,
and Wagner would be intriguing. He might just slide into that late round, huh? So maybe you take a flyer with him. Okay, I might consider him.
Yeah, there's definitely
you want to develop him because Trent's not gonna.
I did an Emil Wagner scouting report. Let me pull up what I posted and read it to you quickly before we sign off. Deal? Awesome.
Yeah, fair enough. But those are my ideal perfect ones because we get a wide receiver playmaker, we get a starting caliber guard. I don't think we're going to address much on the center because they stuck with Brendo for 1 more year.
Yeah.
They're going to
Emil Wagner strengths, pass blocking strength, run blocking strengths, gets you pancake blocks when he gets his hands on defenders on both passing and running plays. Decent pull blocker, durable as F, good knee bend. Weaknesses, zone blocking, cut blocking, stiff hips, high pad level, pass blocking footwork, run blocking footwork is more inconsistent. Gets beat by speedy rushers easily, makes Mike McGlinchey look like Tunch Ilkin.
Oh, man. No. Mind. What about that one dude from Missouri, Keegan Frost?
I have a second on Keegan Frost.
Oh, never mind. I guess he's like too high on boards. Man.
Well, you never know, man. So many of these players, they drop for no reason.
They drop for no reason too. So
Wagner, he has just as many weaknesses as he does strengths. But if you think you can fix them all, which I'd give 5-10% probability, you could develop him into a Pro Bowl right tackle. But you're playing the numbers game. And so it's Wagner not favorable.
He would probably be more of a project, so we'll probably take a flyer on this kid. Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
There you go.
That would be my idea.
Because I'm thinking floor, Thayer, Munford, and ceiling. I'm thinking, good Morgan Moses. Morgan Moses, if he fixes everything, but that's a big if, and it's a long shot.
Chris Forster can make something look like crappy salad out of something, right? Because he got that little yayo, bro.
Yeah. Anyway.
I got what I needed, man. I got me a tight end to fit that Kittle role. I think
that's what needs to happen, man. That definitely needs to happen.
Teron Armstead invited Will Campbell to train with him. Teron Armstead, the Saints left tackle, he invited Will Campbell to train with him this summer.
Well, he's gonna have to work on it. That was a terrible performance by him.
for sure.
Oh, I just got some tragic news. James Vanderbeek from Varsity Blues just passed away an hour ago.
Oh shoot! That's
Oh,
crazy.
dude, that's too young for that.
That guy played a lot of different movies too, right?
He was in Dawson's Creek as well,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I remember.
but he passed away from stage 3 colorectal cancer.
See, that's where they
damn.
hid their secrets, bro. Nobody knows. That's why they keep it low. But yeah, it's crazy. Even that one guy from Three Doors passed away too.
Yeah, and it's always in threes, so there's going to be another one. No, it's always in threes.
Man, that Superman, I like that Superman song.
That was definitely a good one, man. They had a couple of them. There was another one that was awesome. One last thing, though. One last question. You know, I've heard Shanahan say, you know, he's going to be here next year, whatever he expects it. You know, what is going to happen with Mac Jones?
I think Matt Jones has some trade value, but it depends on what they get in return. Like if they get a second round pick, if they really like what they've seen from Curtis Work, they do trade him. But I think it's too risky with Curtis. So
yeah, because we've had Adrian Martinez come in, you know, at times, and I definitely liked Rourke, but he was definitely raw. And obviously, you know, Shanahan's got whatever he has for Mac Jones, but I see a second round pick, you know, coming from someone. It might end up being a bidding war, you know, who really knows?
First round pick is an unlikely possibility. I don't see it.
Yeah, John Voight, who played the coach in Varsity Blues, Coach Kilmer, is still alive at 87.
Yeah, that dude.
Yeah, that's Angelina Jolie's dad.
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy, man. But it is.
I don't think anyone would have had that on our prop cards in 1999 that John Voight would outlive Vanderbeek, but it sucks that he passed away. Condolences to him and his family.
Yeah,
Paul Walker too was in that movie. I think
Paul Walker died like years before that.
He did, but he was the original Fast and Furious. But yeah,
but then he was the original quarterback.
Original quarterback in Varsity Blues, and then he got hurt, and then he went on to be the original main character in Fast and Furious before Vin Diesel took over.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But then even Johnson started becoming a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's call it a day, guys.
Let's call it a day. I'm exhausted. I this 1 hour